Welcome to YBC's Tiny Reps, aka Reparations Zoom Happy Hour.
Hosted by Dee Zimmerer, aka Sweet Baby D Bird, and Bree Cole, me. We are so thrilled to sit down virtually with some of our favorite creatives and keep it real, raise money for the Tiny Reps Fund, a sustaining grants fund to support our local Steamboat Springs BIPOC community.
Every third Thursday of the month, we Zoom it up starting at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
To sign up or join the convo, become a sustaining or one-time donor of the Tiny Reps Fund, head over to our website, youngbloodscollective.org/tinyreps. Pew pew.
All right. Do you want to hype up our guest?
Our guest today is our go-to Beanie babe. Chereen has built the most impressive social media page, selling her knits and sharing about her life here in Steamboat. She's an incredible chef, skier, rugby captain, dog mom to Aria, host of the Biz Bestie Coffee Dates. Welcome, Chereen, to Tiny Reps.
Hey. How's it going, everybody?
So happy to have you today, Chereen. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me and inviting me to be on your show.
So I think we just wanted to start off and see how 2021 is shaping up for you this year. How are you?
2021 so far has been a little crazy. I feel like it's like always a little nuts after the holidays because you're kind of trying to decompress and catch up in some ways. Because I feel like for a lot of creatives, the holiday season is the crazy, crazy time. And I feel like for us people in Steamboat, we kind of have this interesting extra where we also have like a resort town. So we continue to sell things if you sell locally, which is great, but also a lot. But then obviously we had some interesting political things happen in the beginning of the month. And that kind of derailed me because if 2020 taught me anything, it was to become more of an activist. And it really, like, that kind of thing now has become very important for me in my life personally and also in my business. And I've incorporated that into my business as well, as much as I can. Hopefully more as I go on, but slowly incorporating it. So that whole thing threw me for a little bit of a loop, as I'm sure it did everybody.
Yeah, didn't see it coming.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's been my January so far.
What a whirlwind, but like, I really feel that like that investment in like our political system and I feel like it's like the curtain's been drawn back and like we can't unsee this shit. So like now as like creative problem solvers, because I think that's like an innate instinct, and also like marginalized, like it's just, it always tends to kind of gravitate to that. And yeah, like what that like was such a crazy thing to happen and so blatant, and then again to like consequence not really be found for like that atrocity. And I'm like, I kept thinking like, oh my god, like there's so much artwork, and even though it's like all old white men, it's still like like that's part of our history, and like as shitty as it is, we can't like extricate ourselves from that, and like to lose that original like work and just the damage that could have been done more so is kind of like appalling to think about.
Totally. Well, and I mean, on top of just the democracy thing, and I think for me it's like with the business too, it's like I feel, well, okay, when 9/11 happened, I was in 8th grade. So it's like you're conscious of things that it's bad, but you're kind of like, I don't know what's going on, like significance wise. But so I feel in some way as an adult now, and having this happen now, it feels more important than ever to be able to do something. And now that I'm a hopefully conscious adult, it's like, now we can do something about it and know in some form, at least my actions can make a difference somehow, or hopefully inspire other people to, or whatever. So in that sense, having it happen in this time of life, I feel good that I can at least help, hopefully, in some small, tiny way.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, what is that? Let's just get into it. What does that look like for your business?
Yeah, so like I was saying, this year or 2020, I really started incorporating more activism into the business. I mean, since the beginning, I knew I wanted it to be mission-based in some form. Like, so I've always donated 5% of my profits to outdoor, like environmental related organizations. I used to donate to different organizations every quarter. But since last year, I started making all of those donations to the National Park Foundation. And then after all of the Black Lives Matter stuff exploded in George Floyd, I was like, okay, there's got to be more I can do. So I became a monthly Patreon as my business to the Intersectional Environmentalists, because I thought they were like the perfect sort of organization that both aligned with my environmental endeavors and climate change and education and all that. And all of the people involved, I don't know if you know the co-founder Green Girl Leah, among other young activists, they're all in activism work. And it's just amazing. Like, we're not that much older than them, but like what they're doing is so awesome. And they're a grassroots organization. So I felt it was really important to start giving them money and helping fund their efforts and their platform. So that's kind of how I've incorporated it. And then as a business.
Wait, sorry, what was that? Intersectional
Environmentalist.
Thank you.
Yes, so that's their social media handle, and you can also be a Patreon for them via their website. But they have a lot of good resources now too, and as they've grown, they now have a podcast and all kinds of stuff like that. So they basically talk about environmental activism and sustainability as it intersects with, racial justice, LGBTQ and all that stuff, like all of those things. And more.
Wow.
Have you been able to connect with anyone personally from the group yet?
Not yet. They have grown so much that they've almost just reached this like untouchable status in some way. So, I'll comment on their stuff and like send them messages of like, you're awesome. But I haven't directly interacted with them, but hopefully someday, maybe. So it feels good to do that. But then also from a business standpoint, you know how even a year ago, it was really not, I don't want to say taboo, but not as common to be outspoken politically on your business as a business.
Yeah.
I mean, very much so, it's scary. But this year I really started to figure out a way, especially after George Floyd, it was like, oh, it's going to make me emotional. But it's like, there's so much to say, and it's like, it rocked everyone so much that I was like, I have to say something. I can't like not say something. So from there, it almost was like exercising that muscle of just owning who I am as a person, expressing those views, and trying to do it in a way that aligned with the business, because it does, because the business is me. And I'm also like, if you're spending money on my products, you should know that your money is also going towards these organizations. So here are my views, plain and simple for you to read. And also my hope to call in people to also want to be able to take a stand, to speak up, to speak out, and to be active in their own businesses or whatever. Because I know for me, it took me seeing some people that I really look up to, businesses or influencers that I look up to, not being scared of expressing their views. And I'm like, you know what? I can do it too. Who cares? Like, I'm going to say it. If I don't say something, I'm going to regret not expressing this. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Chereen. And also, I mean, it brings up such a good point. I think that like by you, people buying into your brand, which is you, you know, like, and then having an easy way to engage with activism because they're like, oh, well, like if she likes it and this brand is like, that's cool. And then, you know, it kind of starts the procession of people hopefully becoming ignited with activism and seeing how it plays into their regular lives so that it's not like this obligation or, you know, or like, but it becomes your civic duty, you know, like you feel emboldened by it. Mm.
Yeah. Well, and I think like anything, the more you see other people being brave in some sort of action, the more empowered and, you know, yeah, empowered, I guess is the right word, you feel to do it yourself, you know,
Mhm.
especially if it's the right thing to do, but also very uncomfortable and difficult, which is exactly what we're kind of all going through right now.
Yeah, but you said it perfectly. Like it's flexing a muscle, and it's something that maybe we weren't comfortable with before, but baby steps. And now look at you. Like that's like so cool to see like your progress from like this summer till now. Like to be able to see that you've like made such a positive impact on like so many people. That's really sweet.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
You know, you definitely have. What would you say has like been pros and cons for you personally and business wise with like Corona lockdown life and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's really weird to say that there have been a lot of pros because I know it's been such a difficult time for so many people. But I just feel really lucky that I'm in a position where, you know, I don't have kids or anyone depending on me other than Arya, my dog.
That sweet baby.
Yes, I mean, she is my child. But so I don't have that. You know, my husband Rob has a job that he continued to work in during this whole time. Co-workers with D's man. Um, and in my business, I had already before pandemic hit, I had already planned to go full on. So it wasn't like this stark transition that I was like unexpectedly thrown into. So I think that helped because in some way I had already gotten myself to this point where I was planning to go full on. So what it did do positively because of the pandemic was that it really made me focus. I don't know if you guys do the Enneagram, but I'm an Enneagram 3 and very productivity and achievement focused.
What is that?
It's like a personality test kind of called the Enneagram. It's really interesting actually. Like it's not as much like extrovert introvert. It's more like things that drive you, things that you feel value about yourself and what you value in life and others kind of. It's I don't know, it's hard to explain. Does anyone else?
Yeah, I've
It's like the
taken it
mind is
before.
linked. You have D?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah, my
is it?
friends
Just
wanted
like
me to take it before we like went traveling together, just like to kind of see what our personalities would be like. And it's just kind of like a version of kind of like horoscope type stuff. So you take all these, you answer like 20 questions and they'll pull a number and a statement. So there's like the achiever and the, I forget like all like the little like categories, but like I think I was a 7, but I don't remember like what that is. But yeah, it's kind of cool. People are really into it, and it kind of
Oh.
helps you like compartmentalize how you rationalize like life and stuff.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I remember, well, at first with the pandemic when we were like mega lockdown, like don't even go outside, you know, kind of a feeling. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna redo my website. I'm gonna open my web shop. You know, I'm gonna work on my like my e-commerce shop. I'm gonna knit a whole bunch and work on all these systems and stuff. And get my shit together kind of. And I was like, am I really an introvert? Like, I feel fine. Like, I don't feel super sad. Like, I miss my friends, but I'm not like, you know, really antsy to get out. And then after I took this test, I was like, no, I'm not. Because I was like, I like partying and hanging out with people and stuff like that. Um, so when I took the test, I was like, oh, that's why. It's probably because I'm so productivity and achievement focused that kind of overrode the need to like see my people, which is sad to say. And that's the downside, is kind of lends to workaholicism, which I definitely have. but anyway, so when everything shut down, it forced me to work on a lot of things that set me up, I think, for the rest of this season. And one of them included, at that point I had started making a lot of maker friends in the Instasphere. The knitting community is like incredibly strong and like crazy supportive. So I had, made a lot of better friends there. And some of my friends started doing these lives. So I got invited onto their lives. And I was like, this is so fun. Let's do more of this. So then I kind of came up with the How I Built My Maker Biz series, because I thought it would be really cool to talk with other makers. I mean, Danielle came on the show at one point, and about how they've built their business, So I kind of focused on female creative entrepreneurs, not necessarily knitters, obviously, just to see what their journeys have looked like. And I think I also just really like helping other creatives getting started. Like, I'm still learning a lot and very new, I feel like. But after getting asked questions like in DMs and stuff, I was like, I guess I do know some stuff.
You've put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah, I guess so. So that was really fun. And then wrote a lot of patterns, which has become a really nice passive income stream for me. And something I'd like to continue to do, but obviously it's hard to do during the busy season. I feel like I'm talking so much.
No, we're all just like.
But the patterns, it was one of those things that in the maker world, like I said, or the knitting world, it's such a big thing, patterns. So I was like, okay, I'll make a few patterns and like sell them. And you kind of meet more people that way too. So I think my mindset shift with Instagram really changed a little bit, because before I was still kind of like, hey, like, be my friend. But then it kind of almost became this, like, if I view it as like not trying to get people to follow me, not that was like the goal before, but in some ways you're kind of like, I want people to follow me. It became more of like, how can I like build a community and like connect with others in the community? And that really changed things for me this year.
Yeah. Do you think you remember how many followers you had like pre-COVID to like now? Like, is that like the big boom that you've seen recently, or?
Yes. So actually, I suggest this to anyone who has a growing Instagram or is working on their Instagram growth and has a business that has a strong, or, where Instagram is a big driver, is start tracking your stats monthly. So I actually have a spreadsheet where I track my follower count every month, because you can't Instagram won't show you that. Like, I mean, you can see what you currently have, but you can't see what you had, whenever. But it's been really helpful because, some months when you're like, I have seen 0 traction, what the heck? And you look and you're like, oh, I actually did gain some, or, oh, I didn't, but what did I do that month, So I've been doing that for about a year. I had been doing that since 2019. And in January of 2020, I had like 2,900 followers. Yeah. So my growth has been crazy this year. And I think a lot of it was quarantine and more people just being on their phones. Doing the live series was a huge thing, I think, because it kind of, on top of just getting to know these makers and like building a connection there, it almost like created this exposure with their audiences. And And obviously at that point I had already had a couple years of Instagram under my belt, so it wasn't like I was a brand new account. I didn't have a huge following, but I had a little bit of a following. So I think it's almost like I had gotten to a threshold where if people looked on my page, they were like, oh, I'll follow her or whatever. So that kind of helped.
And are those followers like, do you engage with them a lot, or you find that it's like a certain percent you engage with? And
yeah, I mean, I think as I've grown, my engagement or me engaging with people, it's just become a little bit overwhelming, because now I'm like, oh my gosh, I do know you. You feel like you know all these people and have all these friends, and you do in some way. I mean, I definitely have like a core group of people that I like talk to outside of Instagram too. But a lot of the like Instagram friends I do interact with a lot. Like probably for the whole of 2020, I would say I spent a dedicated hour a day between posting and engaging. And I don't post every day, but I would spend an hour every day between posting and engaging and doing the lives and all that stuff on there, like interacting in some way. So I think the consistency was very helpful. And that's what the thing, it's like I don't post daily, but I do post consistently. I'm not like, oh, I must do it on whatever day, whatever day, whatever day. But I was like, my goal is to do like 3 posts a week or something. 4 if I feel fun and fancy. Or whatever. Like some weeks, maybe it was like, I'm about to release this pattern and I have this Instagram live and this, I'm posting every day. But, you know.
Has life felt different since like 10,000 followers, or like, is it feel different? I feel like you're famous now.
I think I mean, I don't feel different as a person, but it is kind of one of those milestones that has felt cool. I mean, 5,000 was a really cool milestone where I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. So hitting 10 was just like, whoa, like that's so nuts. And that I was able to hit that before the end of the year. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, that's like quite an accomplishment. Did you celebrate in any way?
So I was trying to do a giveaway. I probably still will, but it came up, at a great time, like right before the end of 2020, which was like, woohoo, celebration. But then I'm like, okay, when am I going to put together and how am I going to put together this giveaway while I'm still like spinning a little bit, So I'll still do it, but it'll probably be in a month.
Yeah, you're fucking ready.
When I'm ready, give me time, people. And, I kind of do have 2 audiences. So I have like the maker audience, and then I have people who are actually buying the hats. And, actually some of those people are other makers too. But like knitters and, other people. So it's kind of interesting trying to talk with both groups. But I think, well, we don't have to talk all about Instagram, but since we're on the topic, having those 2 audiences, what has really helped me has really been like figuring out who I am, what I'm about, like what my brand is. So I don't know if you guys know, I launched a branding workbook this past year where I basically wrote out like, it's kind of like a mini course step by step, like how for creatives, how to figure out your brand and who you are. And I think a lot of people think of a brand as like a logo and some colors, and you're like, yes, it's very much part of a brand look, but there's so much more to a brand than that. There's like the feel of it, like who you are, like what's your mission, what's your vibe, And I think once you figure that out, which I think I spent a lot of the early part of 2020 doing for myself, once I kind of figured that out for myself and felt really comfortable in it and confident in presenting myself that way, it really helped speak to the audience in a way that was engaging, because I wasn't like it, it's just me being me. So if I'm doing a post trying to speak to knitters and the people who are buying the hats, if I talk about Aria and an adventure we did the other day, it kind of applies to both groups, And I think ultimately it's not like, you know, obviously that post isn't like, hey, buy a hat, buy a pattern, but it's like, this is me, my life. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay. So I think by figuring out who you are and how you speak to the people, it's really helpful, and it kind of it makes it fun.
Yeah, I feel like you've like cracked the code to like make it work for yourself, and it's really seems like you have found like the things that you feel comfortable sharing with people, and bright colors and like beautiful face and doggos and being outside. Like you nailed it. I feel like it's just like the happiest page to be on.
Oh, thank you.
You do such a really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of work, but it's like, I think once you do it too, it's like, it feels authentic. Like it doesn't, if I don't feel like posting, I won't do it, because I'm just like, I don't need to do that. Like, who cares if I don't post today?
You're not like getting your validation from that.
Totally. And I think that's what I mean, and we all fall into that trap where you're like, no one liked this post. Why did it perform so badly? You know, which totally happens. Like that happens to me too. And you know, you got to remind yourself. And I actually, one of the girls I interviewed on my show, she's an influencer. Like that's how she makes her money. And she was just, one of the things that she said that really got me was like, not every post is going to be everyone's favorite post, you know? And I was like, that is such a good reminder. Like, all because this one didn't do as well doesn't mean anything. You know, who cares?
And I feel like it's probably not that I have like too much information on it, but like the thing that you think is going to blow up, like doesn't typically blow up. Like it's like the like underdog, or like just like your casual, like, oh, I'll just like post that. And you're like, wow, like the least you hold on to it, like the better it does sometimes, you know? I don't know.
Well, and I think the whole being yourself can really tie back to even what we were talking about earlier about the activism, because follower count doesn't matter as much as your community engagement does. So the game, I don't want to call it a game, but the goal is not to get more followers, it's to be more engaged with your followers. And so if that means being true to yourself and saying, hey, you know, this is me, this is what I believe. If you don't believe in it and you still want to follow me, awesome. If you want to unfollow me, please go, because you're not going to be someone who is, you know, going to like my stuff anyway. You know what I mean? Or like, if our values differ so greatly, and I've totally had people do this. Like I sent a couple of like emails to my email list that were stating like, this is where I stand, you know? And I had some unsubscribes, and I even had one woman, I don't know if it's a woman, but you know, when you unsubscribe, there's like a reason. They flagged it as inappropriate content. And I was like, if me saying Black Lives Matter and that I care about this and that your dollars are going towards this organization is inappropriate, then I don't want you part of my inner circle anyway, you know, like, so I think that's another thing to think about when you're being true to yourself and, you know, owning yourself and your goals and your mission.
Amazing. Brass tacks question. What, you built your website on what kind of platform?
I built it on Squarespace.
Okay, you did.
Yeah, because I'm not I'm not tech savvy, but I'm definitely not a web designer.
I have a question. Sorry.
Go for it.
I'm on cooking duty tonight. I'm not trying to be rude, but my mom's making me start cooking. Okay, I went back and forth for my website for like 6 months, and I ended up going with Shopify because they do the taxing, but like, how do you do that on Squarespace? Like, because Shopify automatically does all like the tax collecting.
Oh, like Etsy does.
Like sales tax. Well, they collect the tax and you have to pay it, but they like collect it automatically.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't know. Does Squarespace do that, or?
No, you have to put your own taxes in there. So
Okay.
you have to, and the bad thing about Colorado, the good and bad thing about doing business in Colorado, it's really inexpensive to get your business license and whatever, but the tax code is so complicated for sales tax.
It's so complicated. I got in like, I don't know. I ended up reaching out to Emily at Ohana because when I sell stuff in like Colorado Springs, I'm like collecting sales tax and I have to pay it, but you have to apply for a sales tax license for every single state or for every single city and town and county. So she was like, we don't do it. She's like, we just don't pay it. Like if they come after you, then you'll just like owe some money. But like,
well, so this is what I do,
no.
and I have you can in Squarespace, you can put your the county or the zip code, the zip codes where taxes apply. So I know I have to pay Steamboat City sales tax. So anyone with a zip code in Steamboat City limits, I can input those codes. So if they enter that as a shipping address, it automatically will tax them. And then I also have the Colorado tax rate. So anyone with a Colorado zip code also has that. And the way the way I paid so they actually just changed it on the Revenue Online, where they actually have an automatic, like it automatically files it for you if you input it. It's very complicated. I don't know if this is something we want to talk about here or if you want me to like directly talk to you after, but I basically have a ton of spreadsheets, and it is a big yes. There is no easy way to do it, which is the sucky thing. Like there's no easy answer.
But how do you pay your sales tax like out of Steamboat?
So out of Steamboat, I basically
like in other places in Colorado, I guess.
So some cities are self-collecting, which means you have to pay them if you collect for them. Other cities are state collected. So if they're state collected, by paying the Colorado sales tax, that covers it. So what I have is a list of the cities that are self-collecting. If I made a sale to that city that quarter, then I will file and pay it. And the Revenue Online makes that part relatively easy. So then what I do, and this is the sucky part, is, well, I used to at least, I would email that city's tax collector or whatever and be like, hey, I owe you $2. How do you want me to pay this? Most of them were like, oh, don't bother. So that made me feel better. But just to cover my butt, I asked them.
Yeah.
This quarter, I actually had a couple that were like, I owed them maybe $10. And they're like, yeah, please send us a check for $10.
Yeah.
So
I just dealt with that with Colorado Springs and I owed them like 75 cents and they made me like send them a check. And they were like, if you have another sale, you have to open an account with us. But opening an account with every city, it's like $60 to apply for a license for every city. So I was like,
so
apparently it's a huge issue in Colorado. So I don't know. Emily at Ohana, her and Luke were like, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say
they're like a way bigger operation than like I am. So I was like, okay, I don't know.
Chereen,
Okay, that's good to hear.
Farthest you've mailed a beanie to?
Italy.
Oh,
Which was
cool.
That was through Etsy though, so I didn't have to worry about the tax and stuff for that.
That's like such
I
a
think
trade-off,
though it's
right?
like internationally they just collect or they have to pay the tariffs on their end.
But you know how there's VAT too, so that stuff I don't really
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Really know. But I made my shipping on my website for international so much that I was like, if you're really willing to pay this much shipping, I will ship it to you. I mean, it also is expensive to ship overseas, but
worth it. Are you looking to work more with shops and start wholesaling, kind of what you're doing with Ohana? Or are you liking just the individual sales from your house better?
I mean, obviously the website, selling from the website, I make all of the money other than the fees, credit card fees and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the cut, it's still very worth it to sell at Ohana because I think it just reaches so many more people and I don't have to put effort into the marketing part of it, and they just sell so much. So I feel like it's very worth it to sell with them. Like the cut that they take, I'm like, that's the fees that I'm paying basically to not have to worry about the taxes and blah blah blah. But yes, definitely selling on the website, I think, is what has made my year really good, because I was like, oh, this is what happens when I can get the full. It's like when we do the markets, I'm like, this is what it feels like to make all the money from the sales. So yes, I think especially since they have the Breck shop now, so that's almost like 2 shops essentially, I'm like, I'll be good. I can only knit so much.
Yeah. How much are you, like, do you have a goal of like how much you're trying to knit and keep up?
This year it's like gone off the rails because I missed the target. Like I had a target for inventory that I wanted to hit by September. I did not hit it, but I was like, it'll be fine, because I was looking at my projections from last year. I was like, this is how many I sold last year. I'll make a little bit more. I'll be fine. And it just blew me away. So I am very behind still in what I should be. But I think going into next year, I will definitely want to hit my target so I can maximize those holiday sales.
Yeah. How many hats do you knit a week?
I have been trying to average 30 a week.
Holy crap. Don't your hands hurt?
There's a couple days that I had to take off because I don't know if you guys remember when I got into that ski accident and I had to get surgery in my hand. So one of my is actually missing from this finger, and it was like tweaking out the other week, and I was like, oh my God, I need to like not make this worse so that I can continue to knit.
You should get sponsored by like a CBD company or something.
I did get reached out by one, but I was like, I can't do any collabs right now. I can't even think.
Yeah, what are like some opportunities that have come from Instagram that are pretty cool?
What are some of them?
Yeah, that have you've been offered or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on 2 podcasts this summer, which were super fun. So I think that was really big. That was like a goal. Like one of the podcasts, I was one of the ones that I started listening to before I even had the side hustle. It was just when I was thinking about having the side hustle, and it's called Create and Thrive. And I took her Etsy course in like spring of 2018. And
Is
then
she a knitter?
No, she actually makes jewelry, but she's based in Australia, and I didn't even open the Etsy shop till 2019. But I took her course and was listening to her podcast, but she had me on the podcast this past summer, and I was like, this was like goals.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And I had a yarn company send me some stuff to like promote their promotion or whatever, and I was like, okay. And then, I've definitely been reached out to by like other companies too that I'm like, this does not align at all with my stuff. I mean, I'm like, thank you for offering this to me, but I'm not gonna. So I think that's a big thing with some influencer or, that type of people reaching out is I know some friends who are like, okay, yeah, I'll do it for the free, whatever. But I'm like, how is that moving your business forward? Like, does that align with your stuff? If it does, awesome. But if it doesn't, and you just feel cool that you got this product from this company, then maybe it's not the right thing to do, because what is that really going to do? So I have learned to say no, because I'm like, yeah.
I've gotten some like skincare people have reached out. I don't know. Do you get I don't even have that many followers, and I have like weird like skincare. I was like, I don't even wear makeup, so this is
yeah.
crazy.
You're like, did you even read my bio?
I was like, I was like, I'm horrible about posting, and it's funny. But yeah, that's true.
Read the written sponsor.
You can tell when people like, go off the rails with like just doing everything. You're like, wait, what are you about?
Exactly. And
that's
I think
smart to stick with it.
Yeah, be who you are. Stay in your lane. And Just be you. I mean, if it's right, do it. But if it's not, don't. Convictions.
I'm loving this.
What
How's
do
that
you-
going?
What's your kind of your routine every day it's been recently? Like, are you?
Well, like I said, this month is off the rails.
And we're, not even, we're almost through it, right?
Right.
So it's just 2020, etc. That's
Yeah.
what we'll call 2021.
Well, and I think actually, I mean, just to zoom out a little bit, that's kind of how I've started mindsetting about 2021 in general. Is it's just like, I'm like, Chereen, just be chill. Like, just be a little gentle with your goals and your expectations this year, because who the fuck knows? Sorry if I can't cuss, but who knows what'll happen this year? And if things don't go according to plan, it's okay. Like, but in general, I'm the type of person that likes to have a loose plan, but a lot of wiggle room. Like, I can't even do like a legitimate planner because I don't even look at the planner, Like, I have my weekly priorities. So this is something I do. Okay, my day. My ideal day. I get up, I stretch while my coffee is brewing, because that is like, okay, moment for myself. I have actually, and I go back and forth with this because sometimes I feel like it works well, sometimes it doesn't, is the no alarm thing. Sleep is very much important to me. So I did spend a week where I was like, I do want to get up early. And then I was like, I'm going to go back to this sleep how much I want thing. But then just, I feel like I'm ready. And then I give myself time limits on my email. I don't know if this is boring, but it's like, I kind of limit my emailing because you can just get sucked in where you're like refreshing your inbox all day and then you're just in there. And especially with 2 businesses, I'm like, I cannot let this take over my day. So I will give myself 1 hour maximum to respond to, delete, archive, whatever, all of the emails that I have outstanding that I need to respond to. Or send, and then I'll move on to whatever. So then my week, I like to I don't set like my day, like I need to do this today. I have like my 3 weekly priorities because I know things are going to come up and things are going to happen. So I have my weekly priorities, and then, the tasks. I like to check things off a list. So I will put something as simple as like, respond to so-and-so. If I need to, like if it's someone that I was like, oh shit, I forgot to respond to that, last week or whatever, that kind of stuff. Because I don't know, I'm all about achievable goals too. Like I think it's important to have big ultimate dreams and big goals, and maybe year goals, quarter goals. Yeah, sister. But I like the achievable things too, because I actually think having those, it kind of puts you in this like productive, like confidence boosted, like self pat in the back vibe where you're like, cool, I did that. And it might be like really simple tasks. I mean, it's the same with any project. Like, some of you guys have art, like some of the art you do is a big project, So if you said finish this piece, you're like, what does that even mean? Maybe it's like, okay, I need to do this section, or I need to do the, whatever, this aspect of this or whatever. It just helps. It helps the mental, like, business brain keep going, I guess.
Especially if you're working from home and sometimes you get in this whirlwind of like, what did I do today? And like, at least you have like a visual aid of like, I actually did some things. You can like prove to sometimes like I have to like be like, Tom, I really am doing things, but sometimes I like don't think I really am, and so putting it on a paper like, look what I did.
List validation.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. It's like if you put projects as part of your list, you can't check that off. That takes forever. So anyway, so that's kind of my thing. And then I'll check my email again at the end of the day. so I have like my 2 email times. But other than that, it's whatever I need to get done that day. Then I try not to do have too many projects or commitments in one day either, because I know for myself that I never can feel like I'm really in it and can get it done if that's the case.
That's a good system. I like that.
Yeah.
It's working so far.
Also, like D and I had big Bujo dreams, and they like nosedived immediately. Bujo, bullet journal, right? Bojo?
Yeah.
Bojo.
Wait, what is it?
Heard about
Bullet
it, but
journal? Like bullet journaling.
It's really fun. I did another page on Monday.
Oh yeah, dipping it back in.
Getting back in there. We bought these, like nice markers and like this like journal that just has like the dots on it, like no lines, and then you can draw and create like habit trackers. So like my habits this week I was tracking was like get 10,000 steps in a day, read and floss, and like drink water. And then
I feel like
like
that's so good.
and you can like make little like numbers, like, okay, like this is the week, and like track how many days you did it. And it's just kind of like accountability and fun.
nice.
Yeah,
That's a good way to like, yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's just like hard to remember, like I like building it into your routine somehow, putting that on your checklist.
Yeah, like stretching. I don't know. Yeah, because it's like you were saying, Chereen, it's like a lot of my projects are really big projects. Like right now I'm building a credenza that's gonna take me like, 5 to 6 weeks, or like doing a mural. And it's like, if you're just like, okay, finish the mural, you're like, oh, but like, I still have to fly to the location, and then you just are like, feel like you're not doing anything. So it's like, I don't know. That's a good idea. Like make like small things, like finish this sketch and email this person back, because otherwise, like, yeah, being at home all day, you're like, did I do anything? I don't know.
Totally.
Who can I talk to about this? I don't know.
Well, then you get like your negative spiral, which is also bad, So it's like, okay, I did this and this. You feel better. I don't know. Okay, I don't remember the acronym. It's SMART goals, but have you heard of that? That's like SMART. Oh gosh, can I look it up really quick?
Totally. I was gonna ask you what like if your workbook goes into any of that, or if it's just really focused on branding.
So the workbook is purely branding. So basically it kind of step by step walks you through, and it's really what you put into it.
Are you shading that? Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, great. Thanks.
Liza, will you mute yourself?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's okay. Where it really is like it walks you step by step into kind of looking inward and figuring out who you are as a brand and business and how you want to represent yourself. And then it maps out for you kind of like a good foundation to then jump off for your branding. And then it comes with a style guide template that you can fill in like your colors, your fonts, and that kind of stuff too. But that's almost at the end. Like once you have gone through the exercises of really honing in on who you are and what you're doing. And I actually meant to do this so long ago, and it kind of slipped, I think, where to give any Youngbloods members or whatever a discount code for it if they want it.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we can talk about that after, but
and we're like wrapping up the recording, so, and I think you might have had to go to her class, but for the sake of our YouTube video later watch, do you want to just say all of your contact stuff, website, any other closing remarks for you, Chereen?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me. It's always so fun to talk to you guys. And I know we haven't even seen each other or chatted in a long time, but thank you for having me. It's been great. But you can find me. I'm most active on Instagram, so send me a DM or whatever there, and we'll connect. I'm Smeeny Beanie Knits, so SMEENYBEANIEKNITS. And then my website is smeenybeanieknits.com, or you can email me at hello@smeenybeanieknits.com too. And all the other things you can find via those channels.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you, Chereen.
Thank you. It's been so fun.
Thank you so much for joining us for our virtual Tiny Reps happy hour.
If you feel compelled, please send some monetary praise to our guest. Their Venmo is in the chat.
If you have any suggestions for future guests, email or DM us, info@youngbloodscollective.org or @youngbloodscollective on Insta.
We look forward to chatting with y'all to talk creativity intersecting with the BLM movement.
Speak up, show up, and let's turn the tides, y'all.
Pew, pew!